Hello. I've been doing a lot of reading of nonfiction. I have some fiction here waiting for me, and I'm going to be happy to get to it after slogging through some nonfiction and some fairly horrible stories. But some of it's been really, really good, like the Diane Lake book and Guinevere Turner's memoir as well. So this one is really good too. This is Spy Fail by James Bamford. And James Bamford is a New York Times best-selling author, actually. He's been writing about the NSA and espionage, so forth, for many, many years. And this is his newest book, which came out just recently. It's called Spy Fail: Foreign Spies, Moles, Saboteurs, and the Collapse of America's Counterintelligence. And that's essentially what it is, told in various stories, starting out with one that was kind of fun. It was about, remember when Sony Pictures launched the movie, gave money to Seth Rogen for the movie The Interview, that was going to have Kim's the head, what's his name? Kim Jong-Un's head blowing up at the end of it. It's about, I never saw it, but it's called The Interview. And it's about some CIA guys that bore into North Korea somehow and end up at the end, the result of it is blowing up Kim Jong-Un's head. Well, he caught wind of this, being a savvy young man, even though he is in North Korea, and was very upset. While our intelligence, CIA guys, so forth, just sort of signed off on this. Oh yeah, great idea. But you know, it's a little intimidating. I mean, what would we think if Russia or Cuba or North Korea, for that matter, made a movie about blowing up Joe Biden's head or Hillary Clinton's head or what have you? So he was upset, and so what went on, which was really good, was he set this hacker guy onto it, who had some tools that actually were stolen from the NSA and sold on the open market. The NSA is like, you know, has all this stuff that gets ripped off of them by contractors and so forth, which is how, like, Snowden came to be, and all his revelations, and you know, good stuff, but also like powerful tools for cyber warfare. So they had this something like this, and I think actually in this story he just kind of uses, you know, barely kind of normal phishing and hacking means, you know, to get to these people, to get to the executives of Sony Pictures, a woman named Amy Pascal and another dude, Linton, I think it was his name. At any rate, so this guy Park, the hacker, finally gets into the emails, and maybe you remember, I don't know, whatever, 10 years ago, when all this stuff was revealed about these eternal emails of these Sony execs who were living this very lavish lifestyle. He goes into, you know, what the private planes that this Linton guy is riding around on, the money he's paying to get his kid into you know, the Ivy League schools, and you know, all this kind of rich people, you know, the $10 million home, the lavish parties he's putting on. There's a lot of Hollywood stuff in this book, actually. So Park finally gets into their emails and reveals all this kind of racist banter between them and all this other stuff, which ultimately made Pascal and Linton lose their jobs. Linton went on to run Snap. I don't know any workers who might use the Snap app in their work. I have to use it for my job to check in when I come to work and check my schedule and all that stuff. So he went on to run Snap instead of Sony Pictures. So that was a pretty good story. Then it goes on to a long chapter about this Milchan. This guy, Aaron Milchan, I believe is his name. Milchan is Israeli. There's a bunch of Israeli stuff in this book, so be warned about that. So Milchan is an Israeli, and he is started his career by, with the help of Israel, funneling arms to apartheid South Africa, which was oppressing the majority black people. So this is how he starts out, by arms funneling to South Africa. So he gets rich doing this stuff as basically an arms trader. And then from that, he also is helping Israel to develop nuclear weapons, and all this stuff about how he managed to steal and get sent to, or with this means skullduggery, get sent these devices that trigger a nuclear bomb. It's part of the mechanism of the weapon. You need this particular type of device to trigger it off, and these are restricted and hard to get. But this guy managed to get them, so he was doing that as well. So all this is not noticed by our counterintelligence people, FBI, CIA, NSA. It's all just sort of happens. And beyond that, it's like clearly Israel can do anything they want, and if you call out anybody on it, you are anti-Semite. If you call out anything that goes on in the state of Israel, their apartheid activity and their repression of the Palestinians who were there forever, and how they're walled in now and being murdered, and they're Israeli occupying communities taking over, all that stuff. But if any problem with this is you're anti-Semitic, which is as if Israel is equal to Judaism, which I know a lot of Jewish people who are not Zionists. This guy, Milchan, goes on to become a big Hollywood producer. And he's produced a lot of movies that were very, very big hits. Pretty Woman, JFK, a lot of like good movies, and a lot of not so good movies, but 12 Years a Slave. Meanwhile, he was he produced 12 Years a Slave, which got the Oscar. Meanwhile, he was this guy that was supplying arms to South Africa when it was this horrible pre-liberation of the when the other regime got deposed. So that's a quite interesting story. It also includes like he produced Once Upon a Time in America, and with for Sergio Leone, and Leone kind of hated him. A lot of the filmmakers end up hating him after being involved with him, as far as he's penny pinching, and he's just screws up their movies, and all that stuff that these big time producers end up doing. But one good buddy of his is Robert De Niro. And Bobby De Niro knew about the nuclear weapon trigger things, and oh yeah, well, whatever, because basically Hollywood people are essentially whores. They will do whatever for the money to get it costs so much money to make these damn movies that they will, they'll whore themselves out to whatever. And this is basically what has gone on. And he produced several movies that involved De Niro, and De Niro does not come out looking very good in this. So so much for that. Then there's a couple other, several other stories that are, more of this intrigue and all this stuff that's going on, which kind of nothing. No one. USA spy networks, don't touch any of it. It all ends up with something quite recent in the after Hillary Clinton lost the presidency to Trump, and then the whole culture kind of went nuts, and that's when the whole Russiagate stuff, as if we didn't want Hillary on her own, and Russia forced everyone to vote. I didn't vote at all, so don't ask me. But everyone wanted Trump because we were all manipulated by Facebook, so on and so forth, because of Russian influence, which ended up, of course, being not so. Actually, the more influence that goes on is from Israel. They have channeled, I think it said $4 million to Biden over the years. And they were dumping money into Sheldon Adelson was dumping money into Trump's campaign, because Trump said, okay, we're going to move the embassy to Jerusalem, and we're not going to we're not going to do anything for the Palestinians and all this stuff, which Adelson wanted, because he was very much a hardcore Zionist. He actually died a few years ago. So enough of him. But there's more guys like that, and he talks about these people too. And what other thing they did, Adelson and his buddies set up this whole network. Speaking of a foreign country and intrigue and screwing with America, he set up this whole system of blacklisting and discrediting and destroying the careers of anybody that was involved with BDS movement, boycott, sanctions, and de-investment and sanctions of Israel, because of what they've been doing with Palestinians and so forth. So Adelson and his crowd set up this big system, including an app that you could get credits for however much you were like harassing and destroying the careers of a lot of these young people, college students and professors and so forth, who were trying to do something about the injustice going on in Israel. So back to the Russiagate thing, because the last story is kind of involved with Russiagate, and the one person who ends up going to jail for a long time and in solitary confinement for a while, was a complete scapegoat, a story I'd not heard before, a Maria Butina, Butina, who was a young Russian from Siberia, and got involved, with the romance of America, and wanted to, wanted to, thought, like a lot of some of this influence in Russia, they want to be friends with us, but we can't do that. So it's a really sad story of her being ultimately hauled into and prosecuted in the District of Columbia by these corrupt D.C. Prosecutors for charges that she was completely innocent from. They kept her in solitary confinement for a long time, and ultimately she signed a plea deal to something she didn't really do, and then that was the wrap of it. But that was just a completely horrible, sad story, because she's was a 20-something woman who came here to study and wanted a life in America, and didn't, and gets all this ruthless crap thrown at her by America's culture and America's legal system, while all these other guys like Milchan, who was the arm dealer, is still walking free, still producing movies, still having the big parties in Hollywood. But a woman like this becomes a scapegoat. So it's ultimately a story of money rules. The money in politics, the backstory of this is that he doesn't really talk about is the enormous amounts of money it takes to run for office in the United States, and how we can't seem to get money out of the system with the lobbyists and so forth, who are basically controlling the whole system, all these money people. So, extending out of that, anybody who has a lot of money, like Milchan or Adelson, can do anything they want, while this poor woman from Russia is the one that gets convicted. And that's, how wonderful our espionage system is doing now in our country. That's clearly kind of falling apart around, well, maybe you think it's just doing fine. So you can keep those nice dreams in your head and have a good life. And like with Dave Emery's, I've been listening to Dave Emery's podcasts again recently. He's quite interesting. So as Dave Emery says at the end of his broadcasts, have fun.